Amazing twins falling unnoticed. Only the cleaning lady steps in, unknowing he's a millionaire. Alex and Ryan paced in their tiny apartment, a web of stress crammed between laundry and textbooks. The twins, poster boys of privilege at the university, found themselves silhouetted against an academic world that overlooked them, blinded by their last name. The prestigious halls whispered comparisons, always favoring the glittering connections of their heritage over the raw talents they believed they possessed. Each lecture tie tightened around their throats, they swallowed down resentment mixed with longing. "Do you think they even see us?" Ryan grumbled, tossing a crumpled paper across the floor. "Or are we just an extension of Mom and Dad's wallet?" The words clanged against their silent walls, hanging in the air like an accusation. "I think they see dollar signs," Alex murmured, his pace slowing. "It's the last name they remember. Not us." It suffocated him, the weight of expectations tying knots in his stomach. As if by expressing their wishes, they could unearth a hidden ease, a peace buried too deep beneath layers of obligation. Each Monday morning felt like repeating an endless loop, studying hard, working harder at the diner, and drumming up inner strength to break free. Only Clara, the cleaning lady, seemed to notice the mountain of burdens they bore. She swept floors while the twins poured coffee, her knowing smile shared in the quiet moments that bled into their busy lives. "There's hope in hard work," she'd often say, and somehow, those four little words brought a flicker of light in the shadows stretching over the twins. They confided in her about their research project, hoping to escape the clutches of the privileged staircase they were stuck on. "Before we continue," Alex interjected, his urgency sinking with the tension brewing. "I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." "Now let's continue." Clara listened intently, brow furrowing deeper with every word. She wanted nothing more than to lift the twins out of the shadows they seemed so comfortable in. Yet, the fear crawled beneath their skin. What if their project failed? What if it crumbled just like the weight they felt from their family's expectations? The dread of coaches turning into critics and finding themselves ground down to nothing came crashing back with every sleepless night. And then he revealed it. "I've kept something from you, Alex confessed, words knotting in his throat. I'm a millionaire too." The atmosphere shifted, darkened. Shock flit across Ryan's face. Betrayal clutched his heart. A rich twin? Who needed his brother when a safety net overshadowed hard-earned ambition? Tension filled every corner, the admission casting a shadow over their relationship. The revelation hung between them like a suspended animation. How could one sibling be clouded in privilege while the other fought to breathe free? Clara stood, a silent witness to the brewing storm, unraveling the fragile bond in front of her. Did her empathy extend to this turmoil? Their identities blurred, leaving her to question if love could indeed thrive alongside competition. As their project loomed on the horizon, the questions began to spiral out of control. Would living up to privilege tear them apart? Will they face their demons or surrender to the expectations that haunted them? The ties binding them splintered, the shadows deepened, and they stood at a crossroads, terrified of the path they might choose. The weight of success loomed ominously larger, and the true cost of who they were became unbearably clear. Alex stared at Ryan, the truth now raw in the charged atmosphere. Every feeling ignited more profoundly than before, exposed and vulnerable. "You can't be mad at me," Alex said, desperation creeping into his voice. "I had to keep it from you. It just boils down to how everything can change overnight." Ryan turned sharply, his expression a tempest. "Change? What else are you hiding?" He didn't allow his voice to break, but the disappointment burrowed deeper with every word. The silence expanded, an elastic band threatening to snap, while the shadows of their history whispered claims on their souls. the glittering lifestyle that surrounded them suddenly became a mirage too far to touch but always in sight. Paradoxically, Alex's newfound fortune trapped him even deeper in the very expectations they both despised. And what does it make me? Ryan's voice sharpened into an edge, slicing through the air. Just a sidekick in your story of privilege? You're not a sidekick, Alex replied, struggling to project conviction. You're my brother, we're in this together. We need to find a way to fight back against who we seem to be. But shadows clung even more tightly to their breaths and clashed against the light of their aspirations. Each interaction with peers became a gauntlet of pretense. Would they dare to unveil truths amidst a web of lies? In the cafeteria where glimmers of wealth twinkled amongst cheap pizza whispers mingled with clanking trays. The twins sat, silently judging, as eyes danced around scenarios far removed from their own trapped existence. Alex's palms felt clammy against the table, his stomach sinking with every bite of a greasy slice, a reflection of his internal struggle. Ryan's phone buzzed, interrupting his thoughts. A simple text from a friend, an invitation to an exclusive party hosted by a student whose name carried its own weight. Should they attend? Would publishing their project give rise to a sense of purpose that might transcend their last name? The inner dialogues merged, swirling as they grappled with a looming decision. I'll go, Ryan finally declared, his voice cold with determination. No more hiding in the shadows. If we want to make ourselves known, we need to be seen. The gravity of his words hung palpably, igniting hope within Alex but also sparking hesitation. Would this plunge them into further complications? As they prepared, Alex envisioned how fleeting moments of recognition could reinforce their resolve to embrace their true identities, not merely as an extension of family wealth, but as individuals with talent and passion to offer. The faint brush of Clara's voice echoed through his mind, hope in hard work. But fear began to nibble at his resolve when he thought about how others might perceive Ryan's financial illiteracy juxtaposed with his own controlled fortune. More than just the weight of privilege, there was an intersection of ideals. Would their ambitions start to further split them apart? The night of the party arrived like an impending storm. Their hearts raced as they stepped into the lavish venue, lights flicked and laughter erupted, unfamiliar sounds tumbling through the air. Ryan's boldness was a whirlwind against the refined elegance around them, but Alex felt unmoored, strained between the weight of truth and the impulse to vanish behind a masquerade perfectly tailored to fit the event. I can't pretend anymore, he confessed to himself before they crossed the threshold into the raucous crowd. While Ryan drifted into conversations effortlessly, Alex's calculated approach felt like a noose tightening again. Suddenly, a familiar figure emerged through the crowd. Arrival, someone who thrived on their insecurities and savored tearing them down. The clash of emotions surged, compelling Alex to confront this adversary. The time had come to face not just my brother's expectations, but my own reality. What awaited Alex in the swift tides of this new world? Would the confrontation propel him toward the independence and identity he yearned for, or would it unravel everything they were still hoping to build? The crowd swelled around Alex like a tide, overwhelming in its chaotic vibrance. Laughter twinkled amidst clinking glasses, and lulling music drowned out the whispers of self-doubt threading through his mind. The familiar face that had surfaced from his memory now loomed like an impending thunderstorm. Owen. A classmate whose arrogance flowed as freely as his family's wealth. What would Owen think when he saw him here, at this gathering of privilege? Alex's heart quickened, caught between indignation and a storm of insecurity. Ryan advanced effortlessly toward a group, his laughter resonating like a beacon, while Alex remained tethered to a corner table, an anchor in this storm. Each heartbeat echoed the familiar refrain, I shouldn't be here. Who do I think I am? The fear of exposure loomed, a shadow mocking his every breath. Yet, glimmers of resolve flickered within him. Just as Clara had said, hard work would lead to recovery, and it began with stepping out of the corner. As if summoned by fate, Owen's eyes locked onto Alex, a predatory smirk creeping across his face. Look who decided to crash the party, he purred, voice draped in condescension. A ripple of laughter followed, other attendees eager to join in on the spectacle. Cut the act, Owen, Alex shot back, surprise mingling with his defiance. In that moment, something shifted within him. The boy who always fought to blend into the shadows stood momentarily illuminated, like a tired flicker of a candle pushing back against the wind. Owen leaned closer, inspecting Alex as though he were a novelty item. Why so tense? You know you don't belong among these people. His words dripped with the venomous ease of the privileged, and Alex felt the world take a sharp inhale. The laughter ebbed around them, anticipation thickening the air. Alex's mind raced. Was hiding beneath Owen's scrutiny any way to reclaim his identity? He met Owen's gaze, each beat of silence sparking a mountain of indignation. You don't get to decide that for me, he declared, his voice steady, surprising even himself. Not now. Not ever. For the first time, the words carried weight. He felt them push through layers of pretense and expectations. An unasked question flared to life. How long would he let someone else shape his narrative? A smirk flickered across Owen's face, though now it carried a hint of uncertainty, a tone Alex had not expected. The crowd remained a captive audience, suspended in the tension that crackled in the air. Facing Owen ignited something in Alex. Perhaps strength does not come solely from the absence of fear, but from the willingness to confront it. Your father's money doesn't define you, Alex continued, emboldened by his own words. It's the time you spent hiding behind it that does. With that declaration, Alex shook the last remnants of trepidation from his shoulders, allowing vulnerability to evolve into confidence. Owen's expression soured as the corners of the room observed their exchange. Momentarily, the facade shuddered and cracked in the wake of Alex's confrontation. Let us see how long that newfound bravado lasts, shall we? Owen challenged, retreating to whisper conspiracies to his entourage as Alex turned to focus on Ryan, who was catching the fallout of his brother's transformation with a gleefully bewildered face. This encounter had shifted something deeper within Alex. The realization dawned that perhaps confrontations could unlock not only truths but potential opportunities. He scanned the room for a sense of belonging, not as an extension of wealth, but a burgeoning idea of self. The room buzzed anew around him, each conversation now alive with possibility. Feeling buoyed, he approached Ryan, whose brow raised with mutual astonishment. I didn't know you had it in you. Ryan exclaimed, pride bursting at the seams. Maybe this was the start of leaving behind notions of privilege and stepping into authenticity. As their bond warmed again, Alex felt a new determination crystallizing. He could redefine who he was, step by step, but just as he embraced this newfound clarity, a text vibrated in his pocket, pulling his attention away. The sender sent a familiar chill down his spine. It was Clara. I need to talk. It's important. What crucial revelation awaited him that could change the vibrant energy swirling around him, or would it reveal yet another weighty truth that could shatter the exhilarating moments? The words on Alex's phone felt like a lightning bolt, cutting through the vibrant atmosphere. Clara rarely needed to talk urgently, and the weight behind her message sparked a sense of foreboding deep within him. What could possibly be so important? The energy from moments ago began to dim, and the confidence he had felt when confronting Owen started to fragment under the pressure of uncertainty. Hey, everything okay? Ryan's voice broke through his haze, a hint of concern etched on his face. Alex shook his head slightly, taking a deep breath. This was a moment to ground himself, to harness what remained of his newfound courage. Clara needs to talk to me. I think it might be serious. The words felt both real and unreal, a mixture of excitement and apprehension as he glanced toward the exit. Hey, don't let anything or anyone steal what you just accomplished. Ryan nudged him, his tone encouraging. You stood up to Owen. No one can take that away from you. Nodding, Alex felt guilt tinged with the weight of responsibility. His friend was right, he had carved a small victory against the part of himself that had always accepted being marginalized. Yet, Clara's message haunted him. What if that victory came with a price? Waving goodbye to Ryan, Alex slipped away from the lively gathering, the exuberant laughter fading as he stepped into the quieter corridor. His mind raced as he navigated through the gathering shadows, aware that his past could be catching up. How often had Clara referenced the idea of redemption? Was this conversation her way of forcing him to confront lingering obstacles? As he reached the quieter side of the venue, he found a secluded corner and hit call. The phone rang twice before Clara's voice came through, steadier than he expected. "Alex, I'm glad you called back. We need to talk about your father." The mention of his father sent a shiver through him. "What about him?" His voice quivered. "He's in town. He's reached out. It's important to have a conversation with him." Clara's tone was firm yet gentle, suggesting both urgency and tenderness all at once. A tidal wave of thoughts collided in Alex's mind. His father, the man who had left when he was young, was suddenly back in his life like a ghost long thought buried. Anger and sadness washed over him, mingling with the exhilaration he'd felt moments before. "Does he want something?" "He's reaching out for a reason, Alex. I know you're conflicted about him, but it might be worth hearing what he has to say. You've made significant strides in facing your fears. This is just another part of that journey." Just standing there, listening, his heart raced. Did he really want to reopen old wounds? Did he want to confront a man who had once left him and his mother behind? The juxtaposition of his earlier bravery against this wave of vulnerability stirred something deep inside of him. "Are you there?" Clara's soft voice brought him back. "Yeah, I'm here." The certainty of his resolve was fleeting. "What should I say if I see him?" "Be honest. Just like tonight. Own your feelings. This is your life now." Her words sank deep, binding themselves to the moment Alex had seized with Owen. Perhaps this was not only about facing his father but also a continued reclaiming of his narrative. "Okay," he replied, determination sparking anew. "I'll think about it." As he ended the call, the weight of possibility began to settle over him anew. Alex stepped outside, air brushing against his skin as he looked up at the stars blinking in the velvety dark. There was a world of potential waiting. This was his chance to confront both his past and his future. Suddenly, before a fire of courage could consume him entirely, the reality of Clara's words swirled in his mind. How would he prepare to weather this storm? A buzz in his pocket brought him back again, a new message from Clara: "Just remember, you determine your worth." With that, a new resolve began to unfurl. He could redefine himself, not just in the glow of successful confrontations but also in the uncomfortable shadows cast by unresolved family ties. Little did he know, the journey ahead would expose the deepest layers of his identity. Would he rise to the challenge or be left to navigate the tides of his past? Nothing would prepare him for the confrontation that awaited, one where he would need more than just courage. He would need to find a part of himself he hadn't yet uncovered. The next few days were a blurred amalgamation of anxiety and anticipation. Alex found himself trapped in a loop of inner dialogue, oscillating between eagerness to confront his father and dread at the emotional chaos it might unleash. Each moment weighed heavily, the memory of Clara's voice pushing him toward clarity. Yet, the closer he got to making a decision, the more uncertain he felt. That he paced through his apartment, the walls adorned with reminders of his past achievements yet also tainted by the specter of unresolved tensions. Likewise, the brighter aspects of his life now felt dimmed by the impending conversation. A nagging question echoed in his mind: how could he remain anchored in the growth he had accomplished, while also confronting a part of himself that had lingered unaddressed for far too long? With each passing day, he focused on small victories to elevate his fortitude. He began re-engaging with his work, pushing through tasks at the firm with renewed purpose. The last few months had brought a whirl of new projects. He honed his skills on proposals, enabling him to take the lead in meetings. Whenever doubt threatened to creep in, he'd recall the way he had stood up to Owen. It was a reminder that he was evolving, inching toward a version of himself he could genuinely embrace. However, the weighing truth of his father loomed ever larger. Friends offered condolences for the absence of familial bonds, while others suggested that maybe his upbringing had sculpted a stronger version of him. But even amid the distractions, his resolve flickered. What if meeting his father only reignited old resentments? Would it damage the self-worth he had fought so hard to establish? In this tumultuous mental space, Clara became his sounding board. Each time they spoke, she probed deeper, not letting him escape the confrontation waiting for him. You have to step into your truth, Alex. Avoiding won't allow you to move forward, she insisted one evening that he pondered that statement, an open invitation layered with unspoken weight. Could he truly place one foot in front of the other into the past? As night fell, he stood before a mirror, scrutinizing the reflection that stared back. Who was he when stripped of the protective layers? Was he afraid of being vulnerable, or was it that he simply didn't believe he deserved a relationship with his father? That was the pivotal question, one he hadn't yet dared to confront openly. Choosing to sidestep the meeting with his father would mean defining himself by avoidance rather than asserting autonomy over his past. He gripped the edge of the sink, feeling the cool ceramic grounding him into the present while he simultaneously pondered a future riddled with uncertainty. Days continued to pass, each ending in the same familiar cycle. Until finally, he realized now was the moment to commit to a plan. He would confront his father not for closure, but to uncover truths and regain his narrative. This was about defining his identity through his decisions, not the choices others had made for him. As he sent a text to his father, proposing they meet, excitement and fear twisted within him like a knot he could neither loosen nor tighten. Each heartbeat echoed with potential and anxiety, a chaotic rhythm reflecting the heated battle within. Then, as he hit send, he felt a sudden release. Perhaps the confrontation wasn't merely a colorful chapter of his life, perhaps it would be the catalyst for profound transformation. Could this be not just about facing his father but about confronting a version of himself he'd hidden all along? Unsure of what lay ahead, he read Clara's words yet again, "You determine your worth." That proclamation unwound a path lit by courage. In that moment, Alex knew the storm wasn't merely about confronting his father, it was about embracing his evolution and opportunity, once shadowed, now brilliant. Yet the reality of execution awaited him, lingering just outside the door. As he prepared for their meeting, a troubling thought struck him: what if the truth he was seeking was not what he expected? Images of a lifetime together, of shared secrets and regrets, threatened to resurface, embroiled in a confrontation deep enough to tremble the very foundations of his existence. It was more than just a passing shadow. It was the reckoning Alex had both dreaded and desired. Would he have the strength to reveal not just his grievances but his hopes as well? The answer lay just beyond their first exchange, in the depths of vulnerability he had long since learned to guard. And as he stared into the distance, ready to face whatever was to come, he realized, the moment for truth was finally dawning. The air was thick with anticipation as Alex approached the cafe where he had agreed to meet his father. Despite the bustling city around him, a palpable sense of solitude enveloped him. Each step felt heavier than the last, those unearthed memories clawing at the edges of his resolve. He clenched his fists, reminding himself of the conviction that had propelled him to this point. The self-assured man in him clashed with the frightened boy who had long sought understanding. That he arrived early, affording himself a few moments to settle his thoughts. From the corner table, he studied the patrons. Laughter and chatter echoed as friends caught up over lattes, their shared warmth amplifying his uncertainty. The world continued moving, oblivious to the wrestling match taking place within him. That stark contrast jolted him with a realization: regardless of how others moved through life, he was the architect of his own journey. As he sipped a coffee that tasted more bitter than he remembered, he fished his phone from his pocket, scrolling through messages from Clara. Encouraging texts reaffirmed his chosen path, yet each notification amplified his anxiety. He needed to confront his past, unmask the relationships that had shaped him, but could he truly remain steadfast in the face of possible heartache? The sound of a chair scraping drew his attention, the swift movement enough to startle him. It was his father, an unrecognizable image almost lost behind the years of estrangement. The man looked older, grayer, more worn. A pang of empathy pierced through Alex, but it was swiftly followed by the guarded armor he had come to wear for years. "Alex," his father said, voice shaky but holding a hint of warmth. "It's good to see you." That simple phrase sent a ripple of confusion through him. Good? So many memories weighed the notion down, yet he couldn't deny the humanity in his father's eyes. As he nodded in response, he felt that echo of vulnerability he had been both eager and afraid to confront surge within him once more. That he settled into his seat, silently weighing the gravity of what had been unsaid for so long. This was not merely about rekindling a connection, it was about asserting his defined self against the backdrop of a shared past. Shadowed feelings of resentment mingled with a flicker of hope. "Why now?" he finally asked, voicing the question throbbing in his mind. His father's gaze faltered momentarily, as if demanding the time to sift through years of consequence and consequence. "Because I want to make amends," he replied, the sincerity evident but burdened by unspoken hesitancy. "I've had time to reflect on my mistakes." Mistakes. The word landed heavily between them, a chasm reflecting years of pain and silence. Alex's heart raced, a battle raging between disbelief and a longing for understanding. Would acknowledging this imperfect reality bring liberation, or would it be like opening a wound that had long dried, only to bleed fresh again? As the conversation unfolded, it became a careful dance of revelation. Each word from his father felt like a challenge to his established narrative, yet Alex found himself unearthing emotions he had obscured beneath the foundation of his newfound confidence. They navigated anecdotes, shared regrets, and a sense of unfinished business twisted into their dialogue. Alex sought honesty, urging clarity from the man who had once cast a long shadow over his life. "What about the times you left? The silence?" he challenged, each word a jagged shard of truth meant to pierce through false reassurances. His father hesitated, then confessed, "I thought distance was what you needed, that my presence only brought pain." The honesty reverberated in Alex's chest, creating an echo. Perhaps the confrontation wasn't solely about grappling with the past, but about constructing a new narrative altogether. With every exchange, he wrestled with acceptance, grappling with the reality that the power to reshape their connection rested within him. As the meeting wore on, the sun dipped lower, casting a golden hue through the cafe windows. With each passing moment, Alex felt remnants of pain being woven into resilience, each revelation offering strength rather than fear. As he prepared to address his own unspoken fears, a whisper of realization tugged at him. Perhaps the journey of confronting his father was not just about uncovering the truth, it was a catalyst igniting a more profound transformation within himself. He stood poised on the cusp, ready to face a pivotal moment. Would he unveil the courage to transform his grievances into hope, or would fear silence his voice once more? The question lingered like a marionette string waiting to be pulled, his next words potentially reshaping their future. And as he took a deep breath, ready to articulate the weight of his heart, he sensed a flicker of liberation, one that held the promise of truly letting go, or perhaps embracing something entirely new. The moment he realized the power in his own vulnerability, he felt a rush surge through him. What if vulnerability could set the course for not just the future of their relationship, but for his own self-acceptance? Would he truly find the strength to embrace the truth no matter where it led? With that question echoing in his head, he leaned forward, ready to speak, yet uncertain of how those words would resonate in a world redefined by newfound bravery and the essence of forgiveness. The words clawed at the back of Alex's throat as he pondered their weight. Here he was, on the precipice of emotional upheaval, poised between the familiar ache of estrangement and the tantalizing hope of reconciliation. "All these years," he finally began, forcing the words out, "I felt invisible, like my feelings didn't matter." The intensity of his gaze held his father's, unflinching, daring him to respond. His father's brow furrowed, a hint of regret swimming behind the layers of years spent apart. "I never wanted that, Alex. I thought you would be better off without me. It's taken me far too long to see how wrong I was," he replied, the sincerity tempered with the quiet anguish of recognition. With each revelation, the atmosphere between them thickened. Was this the catharsis he had long sought? the liberation of emotions held captive? Moments passed in silence, each heartbeat amplifying his self-doubt. Could he redefine their relationship in this one meeting, reshape the words spoken by silence into affirmation? Did you ever think about how I felt? The question tore at him, relentless. He had buried so much beneath layers of resentment and disillusionment, but this was what mattered, confronting the past to forge a new future. I grew up feeling like an afterthought, like you chose your path over being there for me. It shaped who I am, who I'm trying to be. His father flinched, but didn't he look away? I understand that, and it's on me. But know this: seeing you today reminded me of how proud I am of you. It's what I should have told you. His voice trembled, cracking under the pressure of emotion. Alex felt the stir of vulnerability within him, a tender ache that had been dormant for far too long. There was strength in this revelation. It wasn't just a rekindling of a paternal bond but a testament to his own growth. He had emerged from shadows molded by pain into a figure ready to confront not just his father but also the inadequacies he carried, the crises of identity layered upon abandonment. In that moment, he could feel his self-worth anchoring itself. I want a relationship where I'm not just your son but also your equal. I need honesty, even when it hurts. Can we start fresh? The words left Alex's lips with a conviction he had not anticipated. The atmosphere shifted, the air rife with a mixed tapestry of hope and apprehension. Starting fresh. His father echoed, savoring the words as if tasting a fine wine long forgotten. It's a promise I want to fulfill. It was then that Alex discovered the embers of willingness flickering within the comforting flames of a new beginning. Yes, it would be challenging. Yes, the road forward would need time and patience. But he had taken control of the narrative in that cafe. The dim lighting seemed to sparkle now, illuminating new possibilities. Yet a residual unease lingered at the edges of his consciousness. What if it wasn't enough? What if years of estrangement weren't so easily forgotten? Beneath the surface of hope, skepticism wagged its finger, warning him against naivety, but deep within, Alex also recognized a burgeoning power, the power of choice. He no longer needed to be bound by the past. He could redirect his fate toward healing, for himself and for his father. As he took a sip of the now cold coffee, a question clenched within his chest. Would he have the strength to not only forgive his father but to also forgive himself for holding on to resentment for far too long? With the sun now dipping below the horizon outside, casting long shadows that danced across the cafe, Alex felt a pull to confront this lingering doubt. I just need to know, he said, locking eyes with his father anew, can our path forward truly welcome honesty and healing, or will we be tethered by the same old patterns? The gravity of his inquiry anchored them both, and for the first time, Alex felt the tremor of possibility shimmering through fear. A promise lay on this precipice, and the question remained poised in the air, waiting to be met. Now, one challenge remained ahead of him: would this new awareness lead them both toward the truth, or would the shadows of the past prove too burdensome to bear? The silence hung between them like a fragile glass ornament, reflecting their hearts in sharp relief. Alex held his breath, preparing for whatever came next. His father's eyes, deep pools of regret and longing, wavered under the weight of his own words. I want to say yes to everything just to avoid discomfort, Alex asserted, testing the waters of their nascent honesty. His father nodded slowly, as if considering how to shed years of defensive behavior in a single encounter. Good, his father murmured, his voice low but steady. That's a start. I don't deserve blind forgiveness. But you deserve to voice your truth. A flood of emotion washed over Alex, an overwhelming sense of achievement stirred within him. He felt as if for the first time in years, he was on the cusp of reclaiming his narrative, the stories of loss and disappointment stitched together with the fabric of resolve and newfound clarity. Then let us peel back the layers, Alex initiated, each word framing the path ahead. Tell me your side of this. I want to understand why you made the choices you did. Maybe it can help free us both from this weight. It was an invitation and a test, challenging the very foundation of their relationship. For a moment, the vulnerability of his father manifested in palpable uncertainty. I don't want to relive the past, he admitted, visibly swallowing hard. But not confronting it has cost me so much. I understand that now. Alex leaned in slightly, driven by a mixture of curiosity and hope. It's not about retribution. It's about clarity. I can't build a relationship like the one I want with half-truths. His father took a deep breath, summoning courage. I was scared. When your mother and I separated, I thought Canadian laws would take you from me. I worried my presence would harm your life. I thought leaving was best for both of us. A knot formed in Alex's stomach, the internal turmoil becoming palpable. But I needed you, he countered softly. Your absence felt like punishment. Also, it made me question my worth. I spent years wondering what was so flawed about me that made you leave. His father looked away, grappling with his own regrets. You're not flawed, Alex. You were never the issue. The words tasted bittersweet on his father's lips, a grudging admission of responsibility, a sign of growth. Even if hesitant. As father and son shared their raw emotions, Alex felt his own feelings soften. Hope flickered again, despite the echoed pain. A fragile connection began to build, their quest for understanding melded into a unanimous search for truth. I don't want to revamp old patterns, Alex continued, sealing their intentions. We can't afford more empty promises. I'm at a point in my life where I'm determined to seek authenticity for everyone around me. His father's posture eased, as if Alex's assertiveness provided him a path to redemption. I see you making these strides, Alex. I want to support your growth, however I can. The sincerity in his father's tone was disarming, the remnants of resentment within Alex were quelled, albeit temporarily. Clarity enveloped him as he reflected on what they were constructing. This newfound partnership demanded stamina, heart, and patience. Yet a twinge of doubt still prickled at the back of Alex's mind. Could they sustain this momentum? Was his father truly ready to confront his own past, to risk vulnerability to foster a new relationship? Steeling himself, Alex reached a critical junction in their dialogue. What happens when we leave this cafe? Will these intentions dissolve in the light of daily life? Will you carry this honesty into your actions? His father hesitated, visibly struggling with the reality of maintaining their dialogue beyond that moment. I want to, Alex. I promise I will try. But for Alex, trying was diffuse. He needed a commitment that was concrete. Try isn't enough. Action will speak louder than words. I require proofs of change. As they lingered in this delicate cadence of honesty and expectation, a thrum of anxiety surged through Alex. Traversing this fragile space felt risky. But at this pivotal junction, he could sense the potential for transformation, the wake of their shared truths beginning to shape one another, aligning them toward the promise of a reconciled future. But somewhere deep inside, an insistent voice echoed, will you stick to your resolve, or is this just another cycle of unfulfilled intentions? The hesitance loomed, punctuating their moment of connection. One truth remained unvoiced, poised to test their bond anew. Would both father and son possess the courage to explore the fractures that still loomed in their relationship, or would they hesitate one step too long? As the cafe's chatter faded into the background, Alex shifted in his seat, weighing the distance between the abstract promises and the palpable reality that awaited them. The remnants of tension hung in the air, flickering between questions unasked and truths half-revealed. He needed to break through this moment of tentative honesty, to force clarity around what it really meant to tread the path of change. Look, Alex began, his voice firm yet gentle, if we leave this cafe and continue on without actions that match our words, then this conversation was pointless. Let us make a commitment here. What does it look like for us to support each other moving forward? His father frowned, deepening the lines etched upon his face. Commitment? The word hovered in the air, heavy with implications. That's a significant expectation, Alex. Expectations drive progress, Alex countered. Without them, we risk slipping back into the patterns that brought us here. What steps can we take? For the first time, Alex saw a flicker of fear cross his father's eyes, an opening of vulnerability. "I want to promise perfection. I need time, and I'll make mistakes," he said, and the sincerity trembled in his voice. "I'm still learning to face my own version of the past." "Learning is a process," Alex informed him, "but we can't just learn in a vacuum. Our actions must reflect that. So let's list some small changes: check-in calls, perhaps? A weekly dinner? Embed those intentions into routine, and transform the conversation into something concrete." His father nodded, the wheels of his mind visibly spinning. "I can do that. I want to be involved in your life again, be present. But it feels daunting, being back in this space." The truth behind his father's admission struck a chord in Alex. It was a mutual fear, yet Alex realized his own willingness to embrace discomfort had expanded. They had both been too afraid of what honesty might reveal, too entrenched in the unspoken rules of avoidance that had coiled around them like barbed wire. As they carved out this fresh terrain, Alex's excitement wavered, replaced with a moment of dread. What if I fail? What if we fail? The question spilled out, and the weight of vulnerability hung about him. "If we fail, we acknowledge it," his father replied, space gathering between them as their eyes locked. "We address it, instead of retreating. We don't give up. That's part of the commitment, right?" A sense of possibility blossomed. It wasn't merely about his father, this was a two-way street built on mutual engagement and hard-earned trust. Alex felt the urge to pause, to absorb their progress. They were slowly etching their new reality into existence, even if hesitant. "Then it's settled," Alex stated. "But we each need to be held accountable to it. No more pretending for the sake of keeping peace." His father chuckled faintly, a sound tinged with a mix of relief and lingering tension. "You're now a hard negotiator, Alex." "That's me," he replied, finding solace in their exchange. The goal was not easy, but pursuing it felt invigorating, opening doors to new discussions and insights, sloughing off old shadows clinging to their history. Yet, as the moment hung delicately suspended, Alex couldn't shake the sensation that a deeper issue simmered beneath the surface, an unacknowledged weight that might taint their carefully laid plans. There would come a time when he would need to confront the scattered pieces of the past that continually threatened to seep into the present. What lay beneath their hesitant progress? Would embarking on this path bring up unresolved pain from childhood or deeper revelations about his father that could either further strain or deepen their bond? He glanced at his father, aware that under this newly formed commitment lay the potential for unearthing uncomfortable truths that could either fortify their relationship or fracture it again. The cafe clock ticked steadily, reminding Alex that this conversation, intense as it was merely the beginning. A new chapter lay before them, illuminated by the flickering hope of possibility. "Next week then?" Alex proposed, an eager core infusing his voice. Yes, his father agreed, but in the back of Alex's mind lingered the nagging thought, would they both have the strength to face what was about to unfold? As they rose, Alex could feel the weight of unspoken questions trailing behind him. Their journey had only just begun, and standing on the precipice of reconciliation, he sensed the shadows of their past lurking, ever ready to confront him once more. Would they be able to step over those cracks, or would the fractures of their history pull them back into familiar, painful patterns? In the weeks that followed, Alex's life became a delicate orchestration of meetings, decisions, and reflections. He embraced his initial courage not as a fleeting moment but as a foundation for growth. Each Sunday, he and his father sat down for dinner, sharing anecdotes and hopes while navigating the complexities of their history. Each meeting became a ritual reaffirming commitment, transforming implicitly understood expectations into explicit agreements that colored the contours of their renewed connection. Alex recognized the raw and genuine conversations paved a smoother path to understanding one another. He discovered his father was still grappling with the ghost of irresponsibility, but unlike before, Alex wasn't afraid to keep him accountable. When he raised concerns, their discussions infused with both validation and accountability, new dynamics punctuating each exchange, unwinding the threads of silence that had long governed their interactions. Amidst this emerging relationship, Alex diligently nurtured his academic ambitions. He channeled frustrations into milestones, completing research projects, and presenting at academic conferences, solidifying his presence not just as a millionaire's son but as an aspiring scholar in his own right. The applause during each presentation reinforced an identity he fought to sculpt, and peers began to acknowledge the narrative he longed to establish. Alex's transformation reached a pivotal moment when he received an offer for a coveted internship at a prestigious firm, an opportunity laden with prestige and preconceptions. This was the moment he had envisioned, a chance to prove to himself and others that his identity wasn't just a reflection of his familial wealth. Presenting his accomplishments with unfettered confidence, Alex received the position with pride, feeling a deep-seated reassurance manifest within. He no longer traversed layers of entitlement but entered the professional landscape with solid competence. At their subsequent dinner, Alex shared the news with his father. A shadow of pride flickered across his father's features, but beneath it lingered the unasked question: could he truly earn this recognition on his terms? "I know you'll do great," his father offered, but Alex could sense the undertow of uncertainty in those words. "Can we treat this as a new beginning for both of us?" Alex prompted, letting the words hang heavily between them. His father's nod hinted at a reluctant acceptance of the enormity of growth they both could share. Simultaneously, Clara remained a constant pillar of support, her words echoing in Alex's mind as he faced each new day. "This wouldn't have been possible without you," he acknowledged during one of their evening talks. "You made me believe I could reclaim my story." Clara smiled, and for the first time, he felt a surge of gratitude coupled with responsibility. He also recognized that personal growth often meant uplifting others as well, a turning tide lifting more than just a singular ship. Then, one afternoon, everything seemed to pivot. Just as Alex was settling into his new routine at the firm, he received an unexpected call, an invitation from a former classmate to speak at a university symposium about the intersections of privilege and personal identity. This wasn't just a chance to articulate his journey, it marked a definitive step toward owning his narrative in a public domain. Would he stand amongst his peers and affirm his growth? Would he break barriers between perception and reality? Sitting at home, preparing, he realized that the timid young man who felt cast in someone else's shadow had effectively vanished. He practiced in front of the mirror, each articulation reeling in excitement and apprehension. Would others witness not merely a transition but the authentic Alex that had emerged? On the day of the symposium, he stood at the podium, heart racing as eyes filled the audience. As he spoke of the burdens carried, the expectations fought against, and the shadows felled, he wove an intimate tapestry of his life, a narrative threaded with determination and resilience. He felt liberated by unveiling truths that once confined him. Each word had the power to resonate deeply with his audience. He claimed that platform with conviction. As applause rang out, Alex stood immersed amid gratitude and recognition. It was surreal. This was not simply about acceptance but the understanding that his journey continued to blossom. In a world where voices often remained unheard, he had charted his path through the shadows he once feared. Returning home, exhaustion mingled with elation, and he craved comfort in familiar spaces. The door swung open to reveal Ryan, waiting with congratulations. They shared a moment of mutual pride, stepping beyond the labels that defined them, beyond their last name into identities forged from their efforts, their struggles, and their victories. As the lights dimmed and stars illuminated the sky beyond his window, Alex reflected on the chapters that had unfolded. He had navigated the tumultuous waves of familial ties, confrontation, and identity only to emerge stronger, well-equipped for the journey ahead. The finality of his transformation settled palpably within him, and as he leaned against the window, he yearned to conclude the day with one triumphant realization: he was no longer just a millionaire's son, he was Alex, a champion of his choices, his narrative now bound in self-acceptance, and his future pulsating with endless opportunities. Do not let this moment slip by. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, your support is crucial. Comment below with your reactions and theories about Alex's evolution. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second.